Hi, my name is Jason Sanchez. I'm the director of the House of Blessing Orphanage in Pachinova, Mexico, and I want to share with you something that dramatically impacted my life, and it has to do with closed doors. It started about 12 years ago when my wife and I found out that for whatever reason, we couldn't have children. And after going to doctors and doing tests and doing all these things, it was clear and evident. It wasn't a medical reason. It wasn't anything in particular. It was simply God closing that door and saying, I have something else for you. And in that moment, it was one of the hardest things we've ever gone through. We cried together, we prayed together, we read the Word together, we saw answers as to why this would happen. And oftentimes it's easier to blame circumstances on something. For instance, oh, we can't have kids because of this infirmity, or we can't have kids because of that. But to explain to people we can't have kids because we don't know why, that is very challenging. And that led us to the next door that God opened, which was adopting our daughter from Ethiopia. And we brought her home when she was 11 months old. And as I began to look at the things in my life, I realized that God closing doors is for a very specific purpose. And not only for a purpose, but it's for something even greater and better that He wants to do. And oftentimes we just look at it as a closed door and we're bummed, we're sad, we're frustrated, we're angry, and we don't allow ourselves to take a step back and say, okay, the creator and sustainer of all things has closed this for a reason. Obviously, our infertility opened the door for us to adopt. And then, in adopting our daughter and figuring out what the next phase in our life is, and would God want us to plant a church? Would God want us to take over a church? And seeing doors open and doors close, I would never have imagined that He would lead us to a small town in Mexico to start an orphanage. And so, some 12 years later, I look back on the doors that were closed and it makes perfect sense of what God was doing. He knew that infertility needed to take place to lead us to adopt. And He knew that in leading us to adopt would open our hearts for orphans and kids in need, and therefore would ultimately lead us to Mexico to start an orphanage. So when you take a step back in your life and you look at things through that lens and through His Word and through His promises, it will kind of make you excited for closed doors. I know that's kind of strange to say, but if you truly believe in God and that He has your best interest in mind and that He knows everything about you, then there literally is nothing you need to worry about. And so one closed door, it's just a little bump in the road and where God is leading you to something even greater. So learn to embrace closed doors and watch the greater things that God will do in the midst of difficulties and hardships, knowing that He loves you, He cares for you, and He's going to do great things in you.